Yeah, hi, all. In the previous session, we have seen how you can create dummy APIs, right? So why you need to create a dummy APIs? See, before going to work on real-time APIs, you need to understand few important things. You need to understand some concepts. So that is the reason we have created dummy APIs. So we have also discussed JSON, right? We have also discussed JSON path, right? These are the different things which we have discussed in the previous session. So in today's session, very important, which is how we can do a response validations, right? See, when you send a request, right? When you send a request, you will get a response. Is it right? So that response will be having a lot of things, so right? What are those things? It is a status code, right? It is headers. It will be having status code text, right? Status code text, a response body, right? A response body. Similarly, response time, right? A response time, cookies, right? These are all the important things, right? Important response uh, output, reported responses which you need to validate. Is it right? At the end of the day, you need to validate all these things. Also, at last, we'll also discuss how you can validate this JSON schema. Very, very important thing, right? In interviews, what they will ask you what are the things which you validate as a part of response validations, right? Simply, they are called as assertions. Validations are nothing but assertions, right? So assertions will try to check whether a specific condition is true or false, right? So what is that condition? It is expected and actual. So you will try to compare those two things, right? Those are called as assertions. We'll try to perform those assertions on responses. So that is the reason it is called as an a response validations, right? So these are the things: status code, headers, status code text, a response body, response time, cookies, JSON schema. All right. See, before going to do validations, you need to understand how you can write validations, right? So observe here. So this is what yesterday's collection which we have created. So what I will do, so I will try to create the duplicate of this collection. All right. So I will try to rename that. So which is day 3. All right. So response validations. This is what the name which I'm just giving to the request, right? So response validations, right? This is what day 3, right? So response validations. I'm taking the same APIs guys, which we have just used in the previous session, right? You take this get single day, single student, right? Generally, it will try to give you some data. Is it right? So first of all, you need to run this API locally, right? Then only you'll be able to get the data, right? When you hit this API, is it right? So what you will do, just go to this PC, right? Where you have kept your students JSON file. So automation folder, automation files, JSON files. You see here students.json. So try to run that API. So just open this command prompt from that location. This is what we have seen in the previous session. All right. Now issue this command JSON hyphen server students.json, right? Students.json. Is it right? So JSON it is JSON hyphen server. All right. So observe here. So when you try to execute this command, it will try to give you this end point, right? So it will try to show you all the students, list of all the students. Is it right? So now just go to this postman. You take this get all students, just send this request. Observe here, this is what the data which you will be able to see in this browser also. Is it right? Suppose if you want to get a single student data, you need to specify the ID. Is it right? Let me take the ID as one. So click on send. Observe here, this is what the response which this API is giving for a single student, right? See, you have the body, response body, you have the cookies. Is it right? Generally, when you try to run a real-time API, let's suppose you can see here, in the day one, we have used this request response dot in. All right. So when I send this, right? So observe here cookies, it is also not getting the cookies, right? Since it is a dummy API. But when you try to hit a real-time API, when you try to send the request to a real-time API, you'll also see the cookies as well as like headers, right? In the same way, so you see here, get all students or single student also, right? So in the body, you are having the data, but in the cookies, you don't have the data since we run this API, right? So if you run any API, right? Any API locally, we will not see cookies, right? We will not see cookies, right? But if we run a real-time API, right? We'll be discussing how we can use this real-time APIs, how we can work with real-time APIs going ahead, right? So we will have cookies information, right? So since we are running this API locally, right? So we are not able to see these cookies. If you try to run any API which is accessed via internet, then you will be able to see these cookies, right? So at headers also you will be having. So headers are nothing but key value pairs, test results, right? So observe here, these are response validations. Is it right? So validations are nothing but assertions, nothing but tests. Is it right? So if you write any test, you'll be seeing the test results here. We'll be seeing that as well, right? So this is what the status code, response time, right? Response data, right? So how much data it is handling, that API is handling. So that is also you'll be displaying here. So these are all the data, right? Which you need to do response validations, right? So how you can do response validations? For that, you need to write an assertion, right? Where you will write an assertion. So you see here, like parameters authorization headers, you'll be having a body, right? So after body, you'll be having scripts, right? Inside scripts, you'll be writing assertions, nothing but validations, nothing but tests, right? So let me write that. So to write tests, right? To write a test. So what you need to do, you need to go to scripts tab, right? So you need to navigate up to post response tab, post response tab. But there are two tabs. Did you observe? One is pre-request and the other is post response, right? So why we are only bothered about this post response in this class, but going ahead in the next session, we'll be discussing how you can use this pre-request script also, all right? So for now, we are only bothering about post response. Why? You are talking about response validations. When you get the response, that means once you send a request, you'll get a post response, request after response, right? Once you send a request, so after that you will get a response. So post response. So that is the reason you have the name post response. So in the post response tab, you will write validations, right? You will write validations, very important. So in the scripts, you have post response tab. So in this post response tab, you will write validations. You'll write validations. Guys, very important. To write validations, you need to know JavaScript. If you don't know JavaScript also, we'll be discussing that going ahead. But for now, basics only, which is required for writing validations, we'll be discussing going ahead. All right, so that is the reason you'll be able to see the simple message. Use JavaScript to write a test, visualize, a response, right? Lot of things. So you need to write some JavaScript statements. For validations, you need to write some JavaScript statements, right? See, you take any programming language, right? So you'll be writing assertions. Is it right? You take Java, right? So from where you'll try to get these assertions? From TestNG framework. Is it right? If you take Python, from PyTest, right? Framework you'll get. Suppose if you take C# from NUnit, right? So you'll try to get the assertions. Is it right? So those assertions you will try to use, and you will try to do some validations. Is it right? So Postman also supports JavaScript, right? Very important point here, right? Postman supports JavaScript. So in the JavaScript, as like other programming languages, you have choi assertion library. Choi assertion library. Sometimes it is also called as a framework, right? So choi assertion library or framework. So we will try to use that library. We'll write validations in post response tab. So inside post response tab only, you need to write validations. To write validations, Postman supports JavaScript library like TestNG, like PyTest, like NUnit, right? Chai assertion library it is. Right. So with the help of Chai assertion library, you'll try to create a functions, right? You will try to do some validations, right? Let us see how you can try to do validations. And one more important point, right? Lot of requests you will be having, right? One is get request, post request, right? Put request, right? Delete, right? You'll also having patch, right? See, tell me guys, in which type of method will get the data, right? Most of the data will get inside this get method only, right? So observe here, I'm trying to hit this API. All right, trying to send the request. So when I send the request, so when you see the body, you'll be having the data like this. But in real time, you'll not be able to see the simple data like this, but you'll be having some complex data. But in this case, since we are mastering the concepts, we are taking this dummy API. So you are able to see some simple data here. So anything it is fine. Suppose if you see get all students, all right? So it is returning me all the students. So huge data. Is it right? So if your data is very huge, you need to do lot more validations, right? So validations mostly on data you will try to do. Is it right? So most of the times, lot of validations will try to do on get request only, because you have lot of data to be validated. When you talk about post, right? So observe here, suppose if I create, right? So if I create a student, right, which is already taken this body in the previous session, when I send this, you see here, it is just giving me the simple response, right? So in some cases, you'll not be able to see the simple response, only some simple message, right? Resource got created in the server, some simple messages, right? Some real-time APIs you'll be able to see, right? In that case, you don't have a lot more data, so validations also very less, right? So similarly put also, similarly delete also, right? So most of the validations, if you try to understand on get, then you can understand how you can achieve the same thing on post, put and delete. So for your information, we'll be taking this get request, we'll try to do lot of validations, right? So what you do once we complete this session as an assignment, so try to do validations on all these types of request, right? So I'll be discussing here get request, right? So Postman uses JavaScript library, which is Choi assertion library, to do validations, right? Very, very important point, very important interview question also, right? So I'll be sharing this document with you. So once we complete the session, right? So within this document, lot of validations I have specified. So how you can validate schema, cookies, right? A status code, lot of things, right? So for every validation, you need to create a function by using chai assertion library. First of all, what is a chai assertion library? Postman tool is already included. So the developers of Postman have already included JavaScript library, which is a chai assertion library, right? So you can use that chai assertion library directly, right? Postman uses chai assertion library for writing tests, right? Lot of tests you will be writing. So to write a test, you need to create a function. First, you need to create a function. To create a function, there are two ways, right? This is one way, using function syntax and using arrow function syntax, right? Function syntax and arrow function syntax. These are the two ways to write tests using chai assertion library inside Postman tool under post response tab, right? We'll be seeing that. So it is very easy. Observe here, just to understand whatever I'm just making you understand here, right? Function syntax, right? So PM is what The meaning is postman dot test. So this is what the test, right? So you need to create a test. So at the time of creating a test, you need to create a function, right? You need to create a function. So what is that a test name, right? So function, this is how you can create a function in JavaScript. Generally, if you are aware of some basics of JavaScript, you will be knowing. So this is what the syntax of creating a function. All right. So pm dot test. Pm means postman dot test. Test name. All right. So and the function, this is what you need to use as it is. Right. Open and close parentheses. Right. Inside curly braces, you need to specify assertion. Right. Assertion is nothing but response validation. Right. Response validation. This is one way. Right. So in the latest versions of JavaScript, right, they have implemented this advanced version. So instead of specifying this function like this, just open and close parentheses, specify that arrow, right? This is what you need to specify, arrow function syntax, right? Arrow function syntax. So two ways you can create a function, right? Which is nothing but an assertion, right? A test in Postman, right? One is function syntax and the other is arrow function test syntax. Anything you can use, but we will use this arrow function syntax, which is even specified in a Postman documentation, which is an advanced syntax, right? You can also use this. There is no doubt at all, right? So observe here. So what are the different types of response validations? So status code, headers, status code text also, response body, time, cookies, JSON schema. Is it right? So let us see one by one. I'll be sharing this document, right? Just try to observe this very carefully, right? So validating status code, right? So to validate a status code, three scenarios you can do. Check for specific status code, check for one of multiple status codes, right? Check status code text. So these are the three validations which you can perform on status codes, right? Specific status code, multiple status codes, status code text, right? So observe here, when you try to send a request, so along with this status code, you will also see some message, right? Which is a text, right? That also you need to validate, right? So all these things, what type of response it will give, what type of data which you need to send, right? So what time mostly it will try to take, right? These are the things which generally which is specified in the Swagger documentation, right? We'll be seeing that going ahead. For now, just try to understand this much, all right? See, check for a specific status code, right? So I'm using a syntax, right? Arrow function syntax to create a function. So pm dot test, test name, right? What is the test name? So status code is 200. This is what a test name, comma, open and close parenthesis, arrow, arrow function syntax it is. Inside curly braces, you need to specify assertion, right? This is what an assertion, pm dot response, right? Postman dot response. You'll get a response. Is it right? So response consists of lot of things, right? So one of the response data is a status. You are checking whether this status is having 200 or not. This is first validation. Let us try to take this. Let us try to do some validation for get uh, a request, right? I'm sending this one more time. So it is giving me the data like this. So where you need to do validation, right? In under scripts tab, inside post response, you need to specify the validation. So this is what a validation, which I'm specifying it here. All right. So let us maximize this. I'm trying to maximize. All right. So yeah, fine. That is fine. All right. So pm dot test status code is 200. Right. Pm dot response dot to dot have status. Status should be 200. This is what you are just expecting. First validation on a status code. Right? So you have made some changes. Those changes are automatically saved because you have enabled auto save option, right? You don't need to bother about that. Now try to send the request, right? So once you try to send the request, so observe here in the test results tab, you can see test results passed. So status code is 200, right? Status code is 200. This is what a first validation, right? Status code is 200. right? Let us see another validation. So all the test results you'll be able to see in the test results folder, right? Test results tab, right? How many tests we have written, how many validations we have written? One validation. Status code is 200, right? So observe here. So another validation. So check for one of multiple status codes, right? Generally when you try to send a get request, you'll get 200 as a status code, but sometimes for post request, right, it may be 201 or it may be 202, right? You cannot confirm, so whether it is 201 or 202, right? So what do you think? So it should be one of these two status codes. At the same syntax, pm dot test successful post request, all right? So every request will be having some status code. On the post request, I'm also doing some validation. pm dot expect, what you are expecting, you are expecting the status code pm dot response dot code to be one of these status codes. This is an array, right? So inside array, you will be specifying multiple values, list of values, right? pm dot expect, pm dot response dot code. You're expecting to be one of these status, right? Status codes. Let us do this validation also. One by one validation, you can try to add inside this post response, all right? So here in this case, it is a 201, all right? So let me try to modify 200, right? So it is a 201. Two types of status codes I am specifying. Because I am using get request, definitely it is a 200. But suppose if it is post, it should be one of 201 and 202. I'm just modifying it here for your information, right? Should be one of. So you can try to use that pm dot response dot code to be one of that. So try to send that. Now observe here. So another test, right? So that status code is a 200, right? So is 200 is what the status code. Suppose if you got 201, right? So it will also be passed. This test, this validation is also passed, right? Successful post request, right? Let's suppose if I specify 202, right? So instead of 200, 202, I'm wantedly specifying like this, right? So when you try to send the request, observe here, failed. This test got failed. Is it right? This test got failed. Successful post request. This is what a name of the test. So assertion error expected 200 to be one of 202. So expected, so which is 200. Is it right? So expect, because you are expecting pm dot expect, what you are expecting 200, but it is having 202 or 201, right? This is how you can try to check for a specific validation. Suppose if you want to check a status code text, right? So observe here. So if you see along with the status code, you'll also see some message, right? Okay. In some cases, some another text it will be having, all right? So suppose if you want to validate that also, that status code text, you can try to do that. At pm dot response dot to dot have status, to dot have status. So what that status, like 200, it is having text, right? So in this case, I am having okay, right? So let us try to modify this before executing the next validation, all right? So observe here, all right? So pm dot response dot to have status. So in this case, I'll specify okay, all right? In this case, I'll specify okay, all right? So if I specify created, you'll not have created here, because if you try to send a post request, resource will be created in the server. So you'll be able to see status text as created. In this case, you are getting the data, all right? You are only seeing this okay. In some cases, it will be different. All right, let us try to execute this. Let's see another test it is. Status code name has string. All right, so what is that string? Okay. Okay is what? The name of the string. But 200 is what a number. Is it right? So observe here, I have specified as a number. So this is what is string, right? Different data type it is. So these are possible validations you can perform on status code. Let us try to see validating headers also. All right, so observe here. So if you see in the response after cookies, you are having headers. All right, so headers are key value pairs. right? So one of the important header is content type. What type of content which you are trying to get as a response, or what type of content which you are trying to send as a part of request content or response content. So in this case it is application slash JSON. Observe here. So is this the JSON response, JSON content it is returning as? Yes. So that what you are able to see here, right? So if you want to do some header validations, right? So check if a header is present or not, right? A specific header. Check for header value. Suppose if the header value is very, very long, right? If you want to check a specific value is present in that header or not. So you can also use this to include, right? So header value, if you want to check to equal exactly, right? So suppose if you want to check for header, so to have dot status, is it right? So like this to have dot header, right? So let me try to take this, right? So let me put it here in assertions, like the previous assertions. You can also do header assertions here, right? So content type, this is what a key, is it right? So how you can capture a key, right? So in the response, you are just checking whether you are having a header or not. So to have dot header, so header is having this content type, this is what a key. If this is available, this test will be passed. Otherwise, it will be failed, right? So when you try to send, so observe in the test results. So content type header is a present, right? Content type header is present. This is what the test name. You'll be able to see in the test results. Suppose if you want to check header value, let's suppose you can see here content type is having the value as uh, application slash JSON, right? So what you can do, you can try to use this assertion pm dot expect. So what you are expecting, headers content type should have this and should be equal to application slash JSON, right? So in some cases, in some web applications, right? So for some APIs, you'll be having along with this application slash JSON, you'll also be having char set UTF-8 also. For now, in this case, I'm not having that, only application slash JSON, right? This only value you can specify, right? So checking for a specific value, right? As header value it is another type of response having different validation here. All right, so observe here. So in this case, let me remove this. All right, I'm specifying this. Right, this is what a validation. PM dot expect. What you are expecting, headers which is having this content type, which is a key. That key value must be equal to application slash JSON. Right, this is what you are expecting. Right, if it is not equal, this assertion, this test will be failed. Right, so observe here. So when you go to test results, it is passed, right? Content type header is application slash JSON. Let's suppose if you're also specifying this char set equal to UTF-8. So this is what, uh, so it will try to make you understand char set means a character data. So which type of encoding it is, UTF-16, 18, or some codings will be there. So sometimes you'll also see that, right? So you see here, so inside the body, inside headers, so content type is only application slash JSON. It is not having this character UTF-8, right? It is not equal, is it right? So if you see when you try to send this, so one is failed, is it right? Content type header is application slash JSON. This is an assertion error. So what you are expecting, only application slash JSON, right? So this is what an expectation, right? So this is what an actual, but you are expecting, right? This application slash JSON char set UTF-8, but it is not available. So that is the reason. So you can see here. So this test results got failed. All right. So this is a validation. So another type of validation which you can do on headers is, right? So PM dot test. Right. So what test it is? Content type header contains application slash JSON. Right. So if the content, right? So if the content type value, right? Not only these key guys. Suppose if you want to check for lot of keys, right? Lot of key values, you can do validation. right? For your information, I have taken only one key. I'm just doing this assertion on only one key. You can also do on other keys as well, right? So suppose if the content type value is very, very long, right? Very, very large. So in that large data, if you want to check for a specific text, whether it is available or not, right? You can try to get the data of this specific key in the headers. So instead of two equal, so two equal means exactly equal. Exactly the value must match. But you are expecting, right? So that value must also contains this application slash JSON. This is what you are expecting, right? So to include expectation, right? A part of the data, all right? So let me try to take this, right? So instead of two dot equal, you can specify two dot include, right? So this is another validation, right? So let me take up to JSON when you try to send this. So definitely one will fail, right? This assertion will fail and this will pass. Is it right? Content type header is application slash JSON. Exactly, it is the same. So you are also checking for that. Suppose if I specify only JSON, right? Part of that, right? So in this case also content type header is application slash JSON, right? It includes that JSON. Is it right? It's application slash JSON. This validation, this assertion also is passed, but this is failed. So these are possible validations which you can perform on headers. Similarly for cookies, right? So as I have told you earlier, so if you are running any API over the internet, you'll be getting a cookie data. Like headers, cookies are also key value pairs. In this case, I don't have any cookies because I'm running this API locally. But if it is a real-time API, you'll be able to see the cookies like headers, key value pairs. First of all, what is a cookie? So cookie is what a piece of data sent from the server to the client, right? To store session data, session information, right? To manage users, right? That is what a cookie. You can also do some validations, right? So what are those validations? Check for a specific cookie, right? Is present or not. So pm dot expect that pm cookies, pm dot cookies, right, has language, right? If it is having language, to be true, this is what you are expecting. In this case, I don't have any cookies, right? So this validation, if I add also, it will fail. Suppose if you want to check for a cookie value, right? pm dot cookies dot get language, right? This is what you are checking for a cookie. You are getting the value of a cookie. That value must be equal to en hyphen gb, right? So this is what some expectation, right? So you'll be having actual and expectation. You are just checking, right? This is another validation. This is one validation on cookie, right? This is another possible validation. So let us try to see. Since you don't have any cookies right now, even though if you add these validations, you will not be able to get the result as fast. It will be failed, right? So observe here when you try to send, right? When you scroll down, you can see cookie language is present, right? This is what the test name, right? So it is an assertion error that expected false, but to be true, right? So it is false actually, but you are expecting this true, right? This is what an assertion got failed, right? So let me try to take, right? So let me try to take another thing, right? Another validation which you can perform, right? Check for cookie value. So you can just take this, the same assertion, right? PM dot, right? Expect, right? PM dot expect, you are expecting, right? Cookies key, which is a language to be equal to, right? En hyphen GB, right? This is what you are exactly checking. Here in this case, I don't have cookie. This assertion also will be failed, right? So observe here, total 8, 5 passed and 3 failed. 1, 2, 3. Last assertion, right? Cookie language has value en hyphen GB. This is what an assertion name, right? So assertion error it is. You are just checking whether it should be equal, but you are getting none here. So this assertion also failed, right? Like this, you can also do assertions for response time as well, right? So observe here. So response time is what the time your server is able to respond to you, right? When you try to send a request, right, that server is responding to you with some data, with some body. Is it right? So that response time you can also validate. So before validating, let us try to execute this multiple times. You see, it is 3 seconds. So 2 seconds, 2 milliseconds it is here in this run. So it is 3 milliseconds. All right. So if you try to send multiple times, so the response time is only 3 milliseconds. So that means less than 5 milliseconds, right? So you can check whether it is below a specific value or not, right? So here it is 200 milliseconds. So you can try to modify that, right? Validating a response time, right? So observe here. So let me try to copy and paste. These are all easy validations which you can try to remember. It is very, very easy. Right here in this case, let me specify 5. That means the maximum time is 3 milliseconds, which is less than 5 milliseconds. Is it right? So PM dot expect PM dot response will be having a response time. Is it right? So response is what like a parent. Parent is having a child. So how you can get the child by dot notation? We have seen in the previous session. Is it right? So when you try to handle this JSON by using JSON path, you will be able to handle. Right? So that's what you can use this dot notation to get that response time. Similar, this also PM dot cookies dot get, right, to get value of a key. Right? These are all notations which we have seen. So to be below 5 milliseconds. Is it right? So if you are having response time very, very less, that means your API is responding very fastly, right? So you are expecting it should be below 5 milliseconds, right? So is it below 5 milliseconds, right? Go to test results. You can see response time is less than, it is 5 milliseconds. You can try to modify the message also, right? Test a name also, right? So it is less than 5 milliseconds, right? Response time is less than 5 milliseconds, right? See, observe here. In this request, so it is 5 milliseconds, right? The request, when you send, you will get the response time varying, right? So sometimes it may be decided on your internet whether the server is busy or not. So accordingly, to try to respond to you when I try to send that. So now it is passed. Now the response time is less than 5 milliseconds, which is 3 milliseconds, right? You can also do the validations on response time like this, right? So suppose if you want to do a validation on response body, is it right? So this is what a response body. You want to do some validations on response body, right? You can do validations. You can check value types. Is it right? So observe here. So this is what a response object. Total uh, data which you are seeing, which is an object. Is it right? So what are the data which you are enclosing inside curly braces, which is having key and value pairs, key value, key value, key value, right? So it is nothing but an object. Every object will be having a key. Accordingly, you can get the value, right? So what type of value? So checking value types, right? Next is checking array properties. Is it right? So one of the key is having values in the form of array. You can also check array values as well. All right, so check array properties. All right, so courses you see here, courses is including Java Selenium. So whether this courses array is having a Java or Selenium or not, you cannot do some validations, array properties, right? So JSON data dot courses to dot include Java, whether that Java is having or not, right? One of the member. So to have members, right? Multiple members, right? So you can specify those members in the form of a list. So on array, right, you can do these validations, right? Suppose if you want to check a specific fields data, all right, so observe here. So this is what a name key, this is what the data of that key, right? You want to check whether this value is what an actual value and expected value or not. So is this actual value is expected or not, right? You can also do those validations, check specific JSON fields data, right? First, you need to capture all the data, right? So all the data in the response body, right? So how you can capture to capture, right? So PM dot response dot JSON, right? This is what a specific method which you need to use to get the data. So once you get the data, store it in some variable. So once you store it in some variable, right? So you can use that variable for multiple validations, for multiple assertions. Observe here pm dot expect JSON data. JSON data is having name child. So dot notation, dot ID, dot courses. Is it right? You can get the values of a specific child like this. So this is what a sample response. Accordingly, I'm capturing like this, right? So let us try to do this validation. So checking value types, right? So observe here. I'm just adding here in the scripts post response tab. All right. So first you are capturing the JSON response, pm dot response dot JSON, right? This is what the name of the validation. All right. So multiple validations you have added. All right. So let us try to refactor this. All right. So these are multiple assertions. You are capturing that JSON response in some variable. So why I'm specifying constant here? Because the data you'll not be able to change for this run. Suppose if the data is changing for every run, so instead of constant, you can specify where variable, right? So how many times you run this API, you'll get the same response. That means the data is constant. So I'm using this const, right? So accordingly, I'm capturing that inside some variable. I'm using that variable for assertions. So JSON data to be an object. Is it that entire JSON data, entire response is what an object? You are just checking that. So this JSON object is having name key, right? So it should be a string. Is it right? So that what you are expecting, right? So ID, right, must be a number, right? To be a number, right? Courses to be an array, right? This is what an another assertion. So what type of assertion is check value types. Suppose if you want to check array properties, right? Courses is what an array, right? So whether it is including Java or not, whether it includes Selenium or not, Python or not, some validations also you can try to perform. All right. So what I will do, I will try to take this. All right. So let me modify that. All right. Test array properties. Test array properties. Right. So pm dot expect JSON data dot I can access the child which is courses. Is it right? So which is courses. All right. So to include Java, all right? So to include Java, to dot include, you can specify Java, right? This is what your expectation is, it right? So you can try to specify like this. Suppose it should have members, all right? You can specify those things. You can specify like pm dot expect JSON data dot courses to have dot members, right? This is what another assertion, right? So those members you can specify in the form of a list, right? Multiple members, is it right? Let me specify Python. So in this case, right, you don't have Python, you have only Selenium, right? So this assertion will fail, right? So if one assertion inside this method, right, entire method fails, that then the status of entire method is false. That means it is failed, right? Suppose if you try to specify two different methods, right? If one passed, so it will not affect anything for another, right? So this is another thing, pm dot test, right? Test array properties, which is, let me refactor that, which is one and which is a two. Let me specify that, which is two. To have members, right? So you can try to specify that, right? You need to specify that inside parenthesis, open and close parenthesis, right? You can specify pm dot test. Let us try to check. What is the another thing? Let me remove it here. Right. So pm dot test. and you can try to specify this. Let us try to send this. Let us could not evaluate the test syntax missing after that. So some issue is there. Let us try to figure it out. Or let me copy this as it is. What is that? You need to specify this colon. Otherwise, it is not treated as a valid thing. Right? Expect. Can specify that. Let us try to check what is the issue. Yeah, we need to close that, right? Then it will be possible to execute, right? So that is what it is expecting. So observe here. So test array properties, right? So you are expecting Java Python, but it is having Java Selenium. So multiple members we can include two dot have dot members. Right. Another assertion is two dot include. Right. Courses must include this one also Java. Right. Is it included or not? Suppose right, so this will pass, is it right? So if I try to specify this as well, so another assertion in the same method, right? So this will pass, this will fail, so the total method status is failed, right? Observe here when I try to send this. So inside this you see test array properties assertion error. So Java Selenium, this is what an actual, but expected is Java Python, right? So this is what an assertion. All right, so this assertion also failed, but this is passed, is it right? So to include Java, because of this, the total test status is failed, right? So that is the reason I have created another test like below. All right, so these are validations which you can perform on value types and array properties as well. Suppose if you want to check for a specific JSON data, right? So observe here whether this ID is having one or not. So this name is having John or not. So location is having India or not. So specific value assertions, right? So two dot equal you need to use, right? Accordingly, you can specify the value. Capture the child, specify expected value. So capture the child in the JSON data, which is nothing but response. Is it right? So you can try to remove this here. You can try to use this as it is, because you have already captured this at one place. So multiple methods, you can use this variable, you can write the assertions like this. All right, so let us try to write that. All right, so I'll be using that here, right? So I'm just removing this way var because I have already captured that. All right, so multiple assertions. All right, so different fields of data, right? Location, phone, courses of 0, first element in an uh, array, second element in an array, right? A 0 1. All right, this is what you can specify it here. So when you try to send, so observe here last one, right? Validate specific JSON. So assertion error day expected 1 deeply equal to 1, right? So it is expected 1, right? So but deeply equal 1. So what you can do, you can try to specify that inside codes if it is right a string data. Let us try to check. Right, so if we can execute this, yes, it is passed, right? So it is an string data, not an number data, right? So multiple validations you can perform on response body. Response body is nothing but you are having response data, right? So and like this you can try to do. And at last, so observe here very important validation. This I could have discussed at the very beginning, but I'm discussing right now. JSON schema. Is it right? So to understand this, just try to have some simple look here. Suppose you have a table, right? So you have a table in a database. Is it right? So let me try to open some simple open board. I'm just opening this. Observe here, guys. So you have a table. Let's suppose this is what a table. All right. So these are the columns. So employee ID, employee name, employee salary. This is what a table in a database. Is it right? So this is what an actual data, right? Table in database. Don't bother about this writing. There is nothing much important. You need to understand the concept first, right? So when I say schema of this table, what is the schema of this table? Nothing but so it is the structure of this table. Is it right? Structure. So when I am saying structure, so employee ID is integer, right? So employee ID column is integer. So employee name column is string, right? So employee salary is what an integer. Let's suppose, or it can be decimal, or it can be float. Is it right? So this is what the schema. This is what the structure. Is it right? So when I say schema, in another words, data about data. Can I say that? Right? Which is nothing but metadata. Is it right? So can specify. So data about data, right? So like columns, uh, data type, right? This is nothing but a data. Data about data, which is nothing but metadata. Metadata is called as an schema. Metadata is called as an schema. So every table will be having some schema. CSV will be having some schema. JSON also will be having some schema. XML will be having some schema. So we are only bothering about JSON schema validation. All right, validating JSON schema because the response will be in the form of JSON. So you need to validate the JSON schema it is, right? So JSON schema, it is a blueprint that defines the structure and data types of a JSON response, right? Like column data types. Every JSON will be having some response. So accordingly, you need to just determine the data types, right? So this is what a key. This is what a value. So what data type this value is. So entire object will be having some data. What data type it is. What data type this object holds. So that is nothing but a schema, right? So like the columns, right? So it's a blueprint that defines structure and data types of the JSON response. So to ensure API response matches with expected format, right? Making validations very easy. See how we can know the JSON schema again by seeing JSON Swagger documentation. So once you see that Swagger documentation, you'll be able to understand this JSON schema, right? So what data type a specific key will have, right? What value it should be, right? What data type that is, right? You can get some information, right? Accordingly, you need to validate this schema. All right. So to validate this schema, you need to first capture that schema in some variable, right? So first of all, you need to generate the schema for a response. Let's suppose this is what a response, right? So observe here ID, what data type it is. So it is number data type. So name string data type. Is it right? Location is also string data type. Phone number is also string data type. Courses is what an array, right? Array again consists of a list of strings, right? This is what a schema. This is what a structure. Is it right? So similarly, you need to generate the schema, right? For generating the schema, since it is a very simple response, you can write it on your own. But the thing is, if the response is very, very complex, it is somewhat difficult for us. So what you can do, you can try to generate the schema of this response by using some online tools. All right. So what you can do, just go to your browser, specify JSON to JSON schema converter. Lot of tools are there. You can try to use them. All right. So you can try to take this. Let me take this JSON response. Let me try to get the schema for that. All right. So you can paste your schema here, JSON response here. So click on this. I'm not a robot. Generate a schema. Right. So observe here. This is what a schema. That entire response, what it is an object. A type is what an object. So properties ID. Right. ID is a type string. Right. This is what a string. Is it right? So that is what a string. Name, what data type it is, string. Location, string it is. Phone number, string it is. Courses, array it is. Right, again array consists of list of items which are nothing but string type. All right, so required, these are all the required things. So this is what a schema which you can generate by using some online tools. If the response is very, very simple, you can write. but that too, it will take some time. So you can try to generate this schema by using some online tools. There are a lot of online tools, right? Let me paste it here for your information so that you can refer it afterwards, right? Liquid hyphen technologies. This is what an application you can take and you can convert JSON to JSON schema, right? So what I will do, I will try to capture that schema, right? So to capture that schema, you can use this where schema, right? This schema will be changing for response. Is it right? Right? Not only this one. Suppose if the response is having different data types, definitely schema will be changing. So you need to capture that schema in some variable. So that is the reason where schema is what a variable, right? You can try to use this, right? So or you can just try to copy it here. So we can copy, you can go to your postman, you can paste it here. So just try to copy that, right? So where schema, right? Copy that inside some variable, right? Where schema, you are just copying that inside some variable. Now on this schema, I will do some validation, right? So observe here, pm.test schema is valid, right? So this is what a function, right? So first syntax, pm.expect. So for schema validation, you need to use this tv4, right? Validate, this is what a library which is already having, just call that. Let validate JSON data. This is what a JSON data which you already captured by using variable. Is it right? So JSON data. This JSON data is as per this schema or not. You need to validate. So accordingly, you can specify validate JSON data schema to be true. If it is following this schema, this JSON data, it will be true. That means the test will be passed. Otherwise, it will be failed. So this is an assertion, schema validation. All right, you can try to do that schema validation also, right? pm.test, all right? So pm dot expect, all right? So tv4, it is just a strike because in the recent versions of Postman, you are using this tv4, but now AJV or AJ4 is somewhat another thing which you need to use to validate that schema. So I will be using this tv4 here. All right, so going ahead, we'll also see that AJV if it is required. So validate, so whatever the JSON data, that JSON data is as per this schema or not, right? If it is, then just pass this assertion, right? If it is true, else fail that, right? So observe here, when I try to send that, so go to test results, it is passed. That means that schema is valid, right? So every key will be having a specific data type. So accordingly, it is just trying to validate that schema. Very important thing it is. All right, you will be able to see what the things these are, these data types are by seeing that Swagger documentation. So accordingly, you can write all the validations by using Chai assertion library in Postman, right? Which is a JavaScript library. By default, Postman supports JavaScript, right? If you don't know JavaScript, just have some basics. If you don't aware of those basics also, we'll be discussing that whenever it is required. And this is what with respect to response validations.